dream the same dream.
You break the rules. Look out! To become a hero.
He wasn't built like other superheroes. No super soldier serum, no alien bloodline, no billionaire armor. What Benedict Cumberbatch possessed was something far more dangerous: an intellect sharp enough to reshape destiny, and a presence powerful enough to make audiences believe in magic without ever seeing a spell. Before the world called him Dr. Strange, he was Sherlock, a cultural phenomenon, a genius detective who turned deduction into spectacle. But stepping into the Marvel Universe meant something different. It wasn't just another role. It was a transformation into the first intellectual superhero of the modern era, figure who saved worlds not with fists, but with thought, discipline, and will. In 2016, audiences watched a broken surgeon rise from failure to master the mystic arts. Doctor Strange soared to $677 million worldwide. 6 years later, Multiverse of Madness shattered expectations. Again, $955 million cemented Cumberbatch as one of Marvel's most commanding forces. But behind the cloak, behind the portals, behind the myth was a man who believed that knowledge itself could be heroic. Benedict Cumberbatch was not born into anonymity, nor was he destined for the easy path. Raised in London by two working actors, Timothy Carlton and Wanda Ventham, he grew up watching the craft from the wings of small theaters. Learning early that greatness in acting wasn't glamour, it was discipline, patience, and failure repeated until something finally ignited. He attended the prestigious Harrow School, where he discovered a talent for performance that blended intellect and emotion. Teachers described him as unusually analytical, someone who took apart scripts the way a mathematician dissects equations. Even then, Cumberbatch approached acting like a study of human possibility. His training deepened at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, where he sharpened his voice, posture, and emotional precision. Throughout the early 2000s, he took roles that demanded range, stage productions of Shakespeare, British television dramas, and historical portrayals. His breakthrough came in 2004 with Hawking, where he played a young Stephen Hawking for the BBC. Critics praised the performance as remarkably controlled and deeply moving, a rare combination for an actor still so early in his career. It established him as a performer drawn to the minds of extraordinary men. The next years brought a steady rise. He appeared in Atonement, 2007, The Other Bowling Girl, 2008, and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, 2011. Carving out a reputation in prestige films. But it was 2010 that changed everything. That year, the BBC premiered Sherlock, a modern reimagining of Arthur Conan Doyle's detective, and Cumberbatch's portrayal became an instant cultural phenomenon. His Sherlock was not merely brilliant. He was hypnotic, mercurial, emotionally distant, almost alien in his intelligence. The performance earned him BAFTA nominations, international recognition, and a devoted global fan base. By 2013, Hollywood had taken notice. He took on the role of Khan in Star Trek Into Darkness, a performance layered with cold fury and operatic intensity. He voiced and motion captured the dragon Smaug in the Hobbit trilogy, a technical feat that demonstrated the depth of his physical control. The industry now saw him not just as a British actor with range, but as a transformative presence, someone who could disappear into the psychology of any character. Yet, even with rising acclaim, Cumberbatch's career before Marvel was defined by the intellect he brought to every role. He gravitated toward characters whose minds were weapons. Alan Turing in The Imitation Game, 2014, which earned him an Academy Award nomination. Julian Assange in The Fifth Estate, 2013, and Vincent van Gogh in a BBC documentary portrait. Before he ever held the cloak of levitation, he was already playing men who changed the world through thought, innovation, or vision. By 2015, Marvel Studios sought an actor who could redefine what a superhero could be: a warrior. Not a god, not an immortal, but a genius, whose mind could confront the incomprehensible. They needed gravitas, intelligence, and philosophical depth. They needed someone audiences would believe could become the Sorcerer Supreme. Cumberbatch was their first choice, but the timing was complicated. His schedule was packed with theater commitments, including a major stage run of Hamlet in London. Marvel even shifted the production timeline of Doctor Strange to secure rare demonstration of confidence from a studio known for unmovable schedules. Producer Kevin Feige later confirmed that Cumberbatch's casting was essential to the film's identity. Yet before stepping into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he faced a personal transformation of his own. The transition from prestige dramas to blockbuster-level stardom required him to reconsider the scale of responsibility he wanted as an actor. Superhero roles were no longer simple entertainment. They were global commitments tied to franchises, press tours, merchandising, and an entire generation of fans. Cumberbatch hesitated, not out of fear, but out of respect for the craft. He wanted to know whether Doctor Strange could be more than visual spectacle. Could he bring philosophy, nuance, and humanity to the character? Could a Marvel hero think his way through battles instead of punching through them? Those questions became the foundation of his approach. Right before accepting the role, Cumberbatch was at a pivotal moment. He had just earned an Oscar nomination. Sherlock remained a global phenomenon. His reputation positioned him as one of Britain's most respected dramatic actors. Financially, he was stable. Professionally, he had options. He could choose between deeper, dramatic work, return to theater, or leap into international superstardom. Doctor Strange offered something different. A character whose power came from wisdom rather than rage, curiosity rather than muscle. It was the opportunity to introduce a new archetype into the superhero, genre the scholar hero, the mystic intellectual. The man who saved worlds by expanding his mind beyond ego. No scandals clouded his path. No career collapse pushed him into the role. Unlike many superhero actors who used capes and franchises to rebuild their image, Cumberbatch entered Marvel at the height of his critical acclaim. His challenge wasn't redemption, it was evolution. How does a serious actor, known for complexity, step into a universe defined by spectacle without losing depth? He embraced the risk. Because for Benedict Cumberbatch, knowledge was always the first kind of power he understood, and Doctor Strange would become the character who embodied it on a cosmic scale. Taking on Doctor Strange was not just a shift in genre for Benedict Cumberbatch, it was a complete re-engineering of his physicality, voice, and philosophy as an actor. Unlike Sherlock or Alan Turing, Stephen Strange required a transformation that blended martial arts precision with metaphysical belief. Cumberbatch trained for months in New York and London, studying movement, hand choreography, and Buddhist-inspired focus exercises, so the magic on screen felt grounded rather than theatrical. The subtle, deliberate gestures he developed became one of the character's trademarks, complex, almost ritualistic sequences that fans would later imitate across conventions and social media. Behind the camera, Marvel positioned Doctor Strange 2016 as a visual revolution within the MCU. Under director Scott Derrickson, the film pushed boundaries with kaleidoscopic worlds, folding cities, and astral projections inspired by Steve Ditko's original artwork. But Cumberbatch's performance kept the chaos anchored. He infused Strange with arrogance, vulnerability, and a slow-burning spiritual awakening. The film opened worldwide to strong reviews and earned $677 million at the global box office, solidifying Cumberbatch as Marvel's newest cornerstone. Critics noted that he brought an unusual seriousness to the superhero genre, proof that intelligence could carry the same weight as strength. With the success of the first film, the Marvel machine accelerated. Cumberbatch appeared in Thor: Ragnarok, 2017, adding dry humor and swagger to his growing mystic persona. But it was Avengers: Infinity War, 2018, that truly showcased his evolution. Paired against Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, he held his own with a character defined not by bravado, but by foresight and calculation. His delivery of "We're in the Endgame now" became one of the MCU's most iconic lines, a perfectly measured moment that shifted the film's tone and foreshadowed its consequences. By this point, Cumberbatch had become essential to the narrative structure of the MCU. Strange wasn't just a supporting hero. He was a cosmic strategist, a moral compass, and occasionally the only character aware of the larger metaphysical threat. During the filming of Avengers: Endgame 2019, directors Anthony and Joe Russo relied on his expressive control to convey unspoken stakes. Though his screen time was limited, Strange's presence carried narrative gravity, anchoring the film's climactic battle with a single raised finger that signaled Tony Stark's sacrifice. Then came Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, 2022, directed by Sam Raimi. The style shifted to horror-infused visuals, and Cumberbatch embraced the opportunity to push deeper into the psychological layers of the character. He portrayed multiple versions of Strange heroic, corrupted, broken, and consumed by ambition, each with distinct physical and emotional textures. This demanded one of the most technically challenging performances of his Marvel career. The movie exploded at the box office with $955 million worldwide, becoming his highest-grossing solo outing and a global cultural event. Throughout these years, Cumberbatch's salary and stature within Marvel grew significantly, but his commitment remained rooted in character exploration. He consistently emphasized in interviews that Strange was not meant to be perfect. He was meant to be human-flawed, hungry for knowledge, and constantly battling the limits of his own ego. That tension became the emotional core of every one of his scenes. By the height of his MCU career, Benedict Cumberbatch had redefined what a superhero could embody. He built Doctor Strange not as a warrior, but as a thinker-a-man who won through understanding rather than force. In a universe filled with gods, monsters, and machines, he carved out a new kind of heroism, one shaped by wisdom, discipline, and the pursuit of truth. When the cloak of levitation settled onto Benedict Cumberbatch's shoulders, it didn't just reshape his career, it altered the cultural perception of what a modern superhero could be. After Doctor Strange, Cumberbatch entered a global tier of fame, usually reserved for the most iconic Marvel figures.
Inspiring
Yet,
people I get to work
the
with.
aftermath of
Wonderful
becoming the
agent
Sorcerer
Billy Lazarus
Supreme
here.
revealed a
They won't
surprising
be up
truth.
because, trust me, my eyes will
His
probably be telling
stardom
the story
was
last.
not built on spectacle,
I start with the
but on
beginning. I
intellect,
end with the great
restraint,
pride, and thank you so
and
much,
emotional
BAFTA,
complexity.
and for the Britannia. We can't
Financially,
wait to see as
the role
we,
elevated him into
get to the
Hollywood's
target we're
highest-paid
hoping for,
class.
and I think it's,
With the success of Infinity War, Endgame, and particularly Multiverse of Madness, $955 million worldwide, Cumberbatch became a central pillar of Marvel's long-term strategy. Brand deals followed naturally. Luxury companies and charity organizations sought his voice, his presence, and his credibility. But unlike many superhero stars who leaned into commercial visibility, Cumberbatch maintained a careful distance. His public image remained elegant, thoughtful, almost academic, reflecting the personas he often portrayed. The post-Strange years also brought a diversification of his career. He returned to prestige cinema with The Power of the Dog, 2021. A performance that earned him another Academy Award nomination and reminded the industry that he was never limited to franchise filmmaking.
And action.
In interviews, he spoke openly about the emotional toll and discipline required to avoid being creatively boxed in by global superhero fame. His solution was balance. Alternate between blockbuster commitment and intimate, character-driven films. Psychologically, the role pushed him into becoming a mentor figure for younger Marvel actors, a narrative anchor for multiverse storylines, and a recognizable face for fans spanning every continent. With that visibility came pressure. Cumberbatch has spoken about navigating the expectations of millions of children who see him as a real sorcerer, adults who attach philosophical meaning to his character, and critics who demand complexity from every performance. But instead of resisting the weight, he internalized it, turning it into a source of creative responsibility. Off-screen, his life shifted toward a more private stability. Now a father, he often emphasized grounding himself through family, rather than fully immersing in the relentless momentum of Hollywood. Fame didn't consume him, it became a tool he managed with meticulous care. In the public imagination, Doctor Strange heightened his mystique. He was no longer just the brilliant British actor from Sherlock or The Imitation Game. He became a symbol of thoughtful heroism, the man who proved that intelligence could be cinematic and that superheroes could be philosophers as much as warriors. After the role, Benedict Cumberbatch didn't simply maintain his place in Hollywood. He deepened it quietly, intelligently, and with a sense of purpose rare among modern franchise icons. Today, Benedict Cumberbatch stands at a unique intersection of a modern Hollywood actor who commands blockbuster power, yet refuses to abandon the intellectual rigor that defined his earliest roles. As the Marvel Cinematic Universe continues to expand into its multiverse-driven era, Doctor Strange remains one of its most indispensable characters. Marvel Studios has already positioned him as a narrative anchor for future phases, a role that places Cumberbatch at the center of cosmic-scale storytelling for years to come. upcoming projects
It
strongly hint
devours
at Doctor
everything.
Strange's growing
I
importance.
thought I could stop
The
the
post-credit scene of
echoes.
Multiverse of Madness introduced
Then I'll
Clea,
be-
setting the stage for
pulls
Strange's
another
next
thread
journey
loose.
into the dark dimension.
Protect this
Industry
reality.
speculation
It is
and
anymore.
reports from Variety and The Hollywood Reporter suggest that Marvel is developing a third Doctor Strange film, alongside potential appearances in major ensemble projects. Cumberbatch himself has expressed enthusiasm about
The first
returning,
person I wanted to ask
emphasizing
was
that the
about,
character's
the
evolution
actual character
is
itself.
far from complete.
He
views
what is
Strange
the
not
show?
as
I
a
just-
hero,
but
but
I
as
can
someone
still hear the
constantly
fell
wrestling
I've
with
cast
responsibility,
unraveling.
ego, and moral
Clea and I
ambiguity.
crossed into a rhyme.
Outside the
and woke
MCU,
something there.
Cumberbatch's plans reflect a commitment to creative diversity.
Every
He
choice
continues
understood.
producing through
It was
Sunmarch,
the
his own
timeline.
production company, championing projects that spotlight unique voices and unconventional
Fragments of
narratives.
leading
His
into
future
one
slate
universe
includes
itself,
both
seeing the
art house
lives
dramas
I've
and
broken,
psychological
the
thrillers
but I
roles
can
that allow
try.
him to
Only
explore
one
human
who can
complexity
set.
without magical artifacts or multiversal stakes. His ability to navigate between blockbuster fame and prestige cinema has become a model for younger actors seeking longevity rather than momentary visibility. As for legacy, Benedict Cumberbatch has already left a permanent mark on the superhero genre. Before Doctor Strange, intelligence in comic book films was often treated as a secondary trait as fault, but rarely heroic. Cumberbatch changed that. He helped redefine the archetype of the genius hero, elevating knowledge, discipline, and humility to the same level of dramatic power as strength or speed. Fans don't admire Doctor Strange because he lifts buildings. They admire him because he confronts the impossible through understanding. Cumberbatch's influence extends beyond the screen. His controlled performance style, his ability to play multiple emotional registers within a single scene, and his insistence on bringing psychological depth to blockbuster characters have inspired a new approach to franchise acting. Even in an industry dominated by digital spectacle, he reminded audiences that human performance
Saving
remains the heart of
everything.
cinematic magic.
Trust
In
yourself.
the decades to come,
Trust
Benedict
universe is
Cumberbatch's
counting on
legacy
you.
will likely be defined
broken.
not just by the characters he
The
played,
universe depends.
but by
But the
way he
strength
played
to
them.
fix it has
With
always
precision,
been within you.
with empathy,
Every
and with the
fragment of
unwavering
time,
belief that
stand
stories become
tall,
powerful when you
cast
dare to
your fear
challenge the mind.
aside,